It is the 14th day of April 2022. Good evening and welcome to Newswatch on Hope TV, where you look and live. I'm Tess Njenga and our sign language interpreter is Boniface Mureithi. Thank you for choosing Newswatch. Newswatch now begins. Oil supply services across the country are expected to resume to normal within 72 hours. This is according to the Ministry of Energy Cabinet Secretary Ambassador Monica Juma, who addressed the press this morning in an effort to resolve the fuel impasse that has lingered for more than 3 weeks. In the lengthy press briefing, Ambassador Juma warned a cliché of oil marketers who have been blamed for hoarding fuel at the expense of Kenyans in what is seen as an act of economic sabotage. The government already says it has started going for oil suppliers who are hoarding fuel, with the Rubis Energy CEO being the first victim after he was deported to France. Dickens Luvanda begins with this report.
Kenya has experienced a major fuel shortage in the past 2 weeks in what the government has blamed on oil marketers who export fuel meant for the local market.
Lakini sasa kwa wakati huu hatuna gas kwa sababu hatuna fuel.
Ernest Wafula works at a petrol filling station along Nairobi's Valley Road and is among Kenyans who have been for the past few weeks been optimistic that the current fuel shortage crisis will end as soon as possible.
Kama hii gari hii basi kubwa imeshukisha watu kwa sababu imefika hapa kifikiria labda tuko na mafuta, hatuna, imesimia hapa. Sasa abiria wameshuka, wanatafuta tena jinsi ya mafuta tulikuwa nayo iliingia chana saa 6, imefika saa 5 leo, ikawa sasa hatuusi kitu, imeisha.
Mimi dereva.
Godfrey Kariuki, a driver with a city public service bus, says work has been unstable for him, given that he is forced to leave his bus behind and carry jerrycans with him to a petrol station for fuel due to the unending long queues of fellow drivers seeking the precious commodity.
Biashara bado inaenda chini. Sasa tunauliza government juu wanaelekea kuongeza bei ya mafuta, watu angalie tu sana.
Energy Cabinet Secretary, who is also the acting Minister for Petroleum and Mining, Ambassador Monica Juma, accompanied by ministry officials, reiterated that the government through the Kenya Pipeline Corporation KPC has sufficient oil stocks which should last until June this year.
Over the last few weeks, there has been anxiety across the world, and Kenya has been no exception. And there has also been fear about disruption in the distribution of many products, including petroleum products. Fortunately, we have not been subject to any shortages and disruption in our supply chains in regards to our petroleum products.
In a lengthy press briefing at Kawi Complex in Nairobi, Juma accused some oil marketers who are holding the commodity of economic sabotage and warned that those who are unwilling to supply fuel should with immediate effect exit the Kenyan market.
We have determined that some players have been holding this product, presumably and probably speculating that on this day of the month, the 14th, as you all know, price reviews will provide them with a cash windfall. This government will not tolerate any entity or person that is causing distress, either by creating an artificial problem or stress. Any entity that is not ready, that is not able, that is not willing to work within the framework of the laws of Kenya is invited to vacate this market promptly.
Rubis Energy Kenya Managing Director Jean Christian is the first victim of the government's wrath after he was deported back to France on Wednesday night for fueling the crisis, given that Rubis has a huge share of the local oil market.
The Energy and Petroleum Regulatory Authority, EPRA, has so far issued show-cause letters to those OMCs that failed to meet the required minimum operational stock levels.
The firm is accused of blackmailing the government by demanding higher compensation, yet a large consignment of its fuel stocks had reportedly been imported before global prices shot up.
The CEO Ruby departed the country last night.
According to the Petroleum Principal Secretary Andrew Kamau, the government will pay the remaining 14 billion shillings of the total 34.4 billion fuel subsidy that is owed to oil companies by the end of Tuesday, April 15th, in an effort to ensure there is a smooth supply of fuel across the country.
We have received the funds from the National Treasury. We're going through the administrative process. We'll pay either today, but if we're not able to meet the 3 o'clock deadline that is required from our banks, then we will do it on Tuesday morning.
We are going to allow the movement of tankers on a privileged basis starting later today. And we hope that we can do this in the next 72 hours to stabilize the supply across the country.
The Ministry of Interior is also working with the Energy Ministry in providing 24-hour security to oil tankers transporting fuel across the country in the next 72 hours. In a statement, police spokesperson Bruno Shioso asked local petrol stations to ensure the centers are well manned as tankers offload oil throughout the weekend.
We are in touch with the Ministry of Interior and have arranged for the provision of security both for the movement of the freight as well as for the retailing outlets.
Dickens Luvanda, Hope TV News Watch.
Much appreciated, Dickens, for that report. Now, with the ongoing fuel crisis in the country, Kenyans are looking at a bleak financial future after the Energy Petroleum Regulatory Authority (EPRA) increased fuel prices by an average of 10 shillings, causing more strain on the Kenyan taxpayer. In the latest figures announced by the authority, petroleum products including petrol, diesel and kerosene will rise by 9 shillings and 90 cents in Nairobi. A litre of petrol will go for 144 Kenya shillings and 62 cents. Diesel will be retailing at 125 shillings and 50 cents, while kerosene will be retailing at 113 Kenya shillings and 44 cents, I beg your pardon. As our reporter Grace Ongoi tells us, Kenyans expected the fuel prices to go down and are now disappointed.
Fuel has become a rare commodity to come by in recent weeks. In a majority of fuel stations, huge queues of motorists were seen stretching into roads, causing traffic jam on major roads across the country. Days leading to 14th April, when the Energy and Petroleum Regulatory Authority, EPRA, was set to announce the review of prices, even longer queues at fuel stations were witnessed. This, even as the regulator had called out all marketing companies for hoarding fuel. Fuel review by EPRA Director General Daniel Kiptoo has, however, indicated that Kenyans are not yet out of the woods, as fuel prices in Kenya have risen by 9.90 shillings. Making the announcement at EPRA headquarters, Kiptoo noted that the fuel prices will have been higher if the government had not factored in its fuel subsidy program.
Really, for Kenyans is to look at this transition process and what the government has been able to step in, as you could see from our price announcement today, and bridge the gap and compare it with what others are paying in the region, particularly in Uganda and our neighboring EAC countries. And this will tell you that Kenyans are actually paying less. And that will then be the answer to the question that does regulation of pump prices assist to cushion consumers? The answer would be yes, because ideally Kenyans would then be paying much more today than they are paying in the next cycle.
Effective on 15th April 2022 to 14th May 2022, a litre of petrol in Nairobi will go for 144.62 shillings, diesel at 125.50 shillings, and kerosene at 113.44 shillings. Without the subsidy, EPRA said, the prices in Nairobi will have seen a litre of petrol retail at 173.70 shillings, diesel at 165.74 shillings, and kerosene at 139.89 shillings. The increase in fuel prices has not sat well with Kenyans, who are well too aware of the ripple effect the increase in fuel prices will have on other commodities, including food products.
Mafuta venye imepanda saa hii, kila kitu imepanda. Na ningependa kusema sisi kama wananchi tunaumia sana, na tungeomba serikali ipunguze gharama ya maisha.
Motorists expressed that the shortage witnessed in recent weeks had seen them experience losses, and an increase in fuel prices was only adding salt to injury.
Kwa hivyo ningeomba serikali muingilie hii mambo ya mafuta, angalau mafuta ishuke ili maisha ya mwananchi iendelee kama kawaida. Na nyinyi serikali musikie wenye nasema, maisha ya wananchi iko chini kabisa, na ni vizuri muwakumbuke, maana watu wanalia. Leo tumebebesha Nissan kama 3, na huwa tunabebesha Nissan kama 20 ama 40 ama 50.
Tukiomba serikali ishukishe mafuta, ndio imeshikilia uchumi yetu ya Kenya, na watu wengi wanakula kitu ambayo inatransportiwa kutoka Gishagi, Shago kuja Nairobi. Ukiangalia saa hizi hii gari before mafuta ipande ilikuwa inakunywa 6,000 to 7,000. But naweza sema saa hii kwa sasa nikifunga nikienda kama siku 10 kutoka hapa kwenda Kikuyu, gari itakunywa kama 10,000. Sasa nitakuwa na hasara ya 3,000. So ni kuonyesha ile pesa mwenyewe alikuwa anapata hakuna 3,000 pale. This means that mwenyewe akikosa pesa pia mimi nitakosa mshahara. Na nikikosa mshahara nikienda kwa nyumba unga imepanda. Nikikosa mshahara watoto wanataka shule.
Kipto announced that 10 oil marketing companies had been issued with show cause letters to allow them respond to allegations of causing the nationwide fuel crisis. The companies are under investigation for economic sabotage.
We have been able to issue show cause letters to 10 of the oil marketing companies, and we've given them show causes to tell us why we should not take legal action against them, which would include, amongst others, cancellation or suspension of their licenses. We are also, in terms of, will we see a shift in terms of how EPRA does its work? I think first we just need to start again from the standpoint that we are governed by the rule of law. We apply the law that has been passed by Parliament and the policy that has been passed by the government in execution of our mandate.
For now, all Kenyans can hope for is that the government will move in to cushion them from high cost of living. Reporting for Hope TV News Watch in Nairobi, my name is Grace Wangoi.
Thank you, Grace. Switching gear to politics, the United Democratic Alliance has conducted its party primaries across 16,513 polling stations, where close to 5,000 aspirants have battled it out for various electoral seats. The primaries in some polling centers were, however, characterized by delays, chaos, and low turnout. As Kennedy Kimani now reports, primaries in the constituencies of Bumula, Turkana Central, Turkana East and Nani Hills, Narok South and Nakuru Town West have been rescheduled and will now take place on the 19th of April, while primaries in Mount Elgon, Malava, Likuyani and Lugari have been postponed to Saturday.
It was a date with destiny for 5,000 aspirants who are seeking to fly the UDA flag in the August polls, as the party conducted its primaries in 36 counties across the country. The nominations in some polling centers were, however, characterized by delays, chaos and low turnout. In a brief with the media, UDA has condemned the chaos witnessed in those polling centers, saying that those found culpable, necessary action will be taken, even if it means expelling them from the party.
We want to note and announce to the country that the UDA party takes electoral violence extremely seriously, and the consequences of electoral violence for any party member or an aspirant include, but is not limited to, disqualification of the aspirants, irrespective of the outcome of today's exercise. Also, if those accusations are proven to be true, the consequences include suspension of such aspirants or party members from the party, or even complete expulsion.
A spot check at Westlands Primary School by Hope TV witnessed a low voter turnout, with the main reason, according to the aspirants' agents, being the delay in the dispatchment of ballot papers and boxes. There was, however, no nomination for the UDA Westlands MP ticket, as Millicent Kithinji, who was Nelson Harvey's only competitor, dropped out of the race in favor of Harvey.
Nimeweza kurauka hapa kitu saa 12 asubuhi. Alafu mi as a agent tulikuwa watu wengi hapa wenye walikuwa kuja kupiga kura, lakini watu walikasirika jinsi walivyokuja, wakakaa mpaka kitu saa 2 hawajapata mtu yote, hawajapata wasimamizi wa kura.
Kuna challenges ambazo tumekuwa nazo asubuhi, sababu tumeanza kama saa 6 hivi kupiga kura. Turnout morning hours ilikuwa mzuri, watu walikuwa wakingojea the returning officers or the officers ambao wako consult, so wamekuja kama wamechelewa. So watu wengi wale ambao walikuwa wanatarajia kupiga kura ikawalazimisha warudi nyumbani ama waende katika kazi, kwa maana wengine walikuja hapa mapema, wale ambao wanafanya within Westland area ambapo wanachukulia hapa kura. So turnout up to now iko slow sana, mtu anakuja moja.
In the county of Nyeri, the nomination exercise began on a low note, with some polling centers almost devoid of any visible activity. There was minimal activity at the Whispers Park polling center, as many of the residents were going about their business as usual. It was a similar script at the Dhuariga Primary School polling center, which has a total of 1,902 registered electorates, where little activity was going on, with officials idling away the time as they waited for elusive voters. 7 contestants are battling out for the Nyeri Central Parliamentary UDA party ticket, with the winner expected to square it out to the current MP Wambugu Gunjiri of Jubilee. Nyeri Governor Mutahi Kahiga has already sailed through after having been given a direct UDA ticket to defend his seat.
Ni Poro Gashohe Kanyari, mimi ni mwakilishi wa ward hii ya Lwale, ambayo pia anapigania kama mgombeaji wa kitu cha Lwale. Nimefurahi kuona vile hii exercise inaendelea, hata igawa the turnout si mzuri vile.
Kidogo kulikuwa na issue ya majina, lakini ile swali nimeuliza nimeambiwa ati voter register haikuwa updated. So watu wenye walikuwa wamechange votes zao wanaenda kwa polling stations zenye walikuwa wanavotia kitambo.
The nomination exercise has, however, hit some hitches in some areas, forcing the party to reschedule them. Primaries in Bumula, Turkana Central, Turkana East, Nandi Hills, Narok South and Nakuru Town West will now take place on the 19th of April, which is on Tuesday next week, while primaries in Mount Elgon, Malava, Likuyani and Rugari have been postponed to Saturday. Kennedy Kimani, Hope TV Newswatch.
Thank you, Kennedy, for that report. Still on that, UDA nominations in Embu kicked off at a slow pace, with officials dispelling rumors that they had been cancelled over the incident that took place where voting materials were set on fire by rowdy youth, claiming they were to be used to rig the nominations. Elgeyo Marakwet Senator Kipchumba Murkomen, who is overseeing the process in the county, earlier on assured Embu residents that the elections will go on smoothly as planned and that UDA was determined to deliver free and fair nominations.
I want first to dispel the rumors that we have postponed elections in Embu. The elections are going on. They will go on. It doesn't matter 1 or 2 people who are suffering election fever and they are scared of the results. We have said these elections will go on. It's for the good of our country. It's good for our democracy. It's good for our constitution that these elections go on. Number 2, I want to say I have the authority of the National Elections Board, having been requested to come here, to tell all our aspirants, anyone who will be caught to participate in any kind of violence will be disqualified without any hesitation by the National Elections Board. And I want to thank the media for covering these elections. And you have assisted us. Even yesterday, your media coverage yesterday has helped us to appreciate the people who are at the scene, people who are burning materials and so forth. And in the fullness of time, all of them will be brought to justice. We'll make sure that the Director of Criminal Investigation, the Director of Public Prosecution, assist of all this situation and the people, and they are brought to justice.
The Orange Democratic Movement Party is staring at possible fallout with its ODM diehard supporters and their candidates after the just concluded party primaries, a move that risks scuttling Raila Odinga's presidential bid. Majority of ODM candidates are aggrieved lot accusing the ODM Mombasa County Office of canvassing the nominations to rig their preferred candidates. The MCA nominations were conducted last Saturday in 30 ward areas despite claims of interference, bribery, delay voting and hooliganism. Candidates vying for Member of Parliament political seat in Nyali constituency have raised complaints on the ODM directive of not holding nominations in favor of consensus to avoid competitive primaries where sibling rivalry could hurt its 2022 prospects. The aggrieved lot led by Nyali Member of Parliament ODM aspirant lawyer Joshua Ndere has threatened to ditch the party to run as an independent candidate.
Mimi kama mgombeaji wa kiti cha ubunge hapa Nyali, tumeona historia ambayo Nyali imekuwa nayo. Kila wakati tunakaribia kura ya mchujo, hapo ndio chama kinaanza kusambaratika. Watu wanapatiwa certificate, kisha wanaenda wanaanguka katika kura ya general election. Kwa hivyo sisi tunasema hivi, tulikuwa tumeitwa Nairobi wiki mbili zilizopita, zaidi ya wiki mbili zilizopita kama wagombeaji, na tukaambiwa kuwa chama hakina intention ya kufanya kura za mchujo kuanzia viti za wabunge hadi governor. Mimi kama mgombeaji niko na haki nipatiwe communication kutoka kwa chama, ni mambo ya kura za mchujo wamefikia wapi, kutakuwa na mchujo ama hakutakuwa na mchujo. Na kama hakutakuwa na mchujo, nataka tu kuweka wazi kuwa mimi niko tayari kujiuzulu katika chama na kugombea kiti hiki kupitia independent.
Yetu kukuja hapa na kusanyika hapa ni kupeana tu message. Na tunaomba hii message ifike jamani, na ifike leo, na ifike tena saa hii. Chama cha ODM ni chama ambacho twakipenda sana. Hata mara nyingi unasikia tukijisifu, ukinikata utaona damu inatoka ODM. Lakini sasa tunasema damu ni independent. Kwa Nyali tulifanya last time 5 years back. Tuenda kuifanya sasa hii. Tunataka kuambia wana ODM kuwa mtu akijitokelezea kama candidate, wajue kuwa anatumia resources zake na anatumia muda wake na hata anaacha kazi yake.
ODM imeamua inaweka madoadoa huko, sisi tumemkubali Raila, na huku chini pia sisi tutafanya mambo yetu, tutaweka vile tunavyofanya. Huo msemo ambao tuliambiwa tupangwingu tumeukataa, lakini tutauregesha tena, hatupangiwi Nyali. Nyali tunamweka Ndere na huku kwingine tutaweka mwingine. Baba yako iko tik.
Tumechoka kuonewa sisi na ODM. Tumechoka kupangwa kabisa sisi na ODM. Tunayemtaka ni mtu, si chama. Tupeni mtu tunayemchagua, msituwekee watu mnaotaka nyinyi kwa chama. Kwa nini kila siku kutuwekea watu? Tunataka mtu aje atujali sisi watu wa chini tunompigia kura, sio wanayewajali nyinyi mlioko juu.
To Parliament, the National Assembly Speaker Justin Muturi this afternoon prematurely adjourned the sitting of the House after gross disorder by Embakasi East Member of Parliament Babu Owino, who refused to get out of the chamber after an order was made. In a chaotic afternoon session that was characterized by drama, as Wajir woman Representative Fatuma Gedi prepared to table evidence against Deputy President on land issues, Owino engaged the Speaker in a shouting match. Babu Owino, surrounded by some lawmakers, refused to move as several Sergeant-at-Arms officers pleaded with him. In his ruling at 4:13 p.m., Muturi said the proceedings of the House could not continue.
Honorable Abdul Karim, Honorable Abdul Karim, Honorable Abdul Karim, Honorable, let him go out. Let him leave the chamber.
I must, Mr. Speaker, let me explain what I'm tabling, Mr. Speaker, to Kenyans in this House.
Honorable Fatuma Gedi.
If it is matter of tabling, the documents are here, but let me explain.
Have you tabled?
I have not tabled, I have it here. What am I tabling? What am I tabling? I have to explain.
No, table
I have to explain.
Table
no, I must explain. Kenyans must know. I must explain. What am I tabling? No.
Honorable Fatuma Gedi.
Why? Mr. Speaker, don't gag me.
Honorable Fatuma Gedi.
to Kenyans in this house. No. I cannot do that.
Honorable Fatuma Gedi, table the documents and then explain.
Please.
Then explain.
I must explain what I'm tabling.
No, table and explain.
No.
Table and explain.
On that chaotic note, let's take our first break on Newswatch tonight. We will be back with much more news.
Hope TV is now available on GoTV Channel 103, Zuku Channel 873, Signet Channel 817 and Star Times Channel 026. Enjoy our uplifting content and family-friendly programming anytime. Hope TV, you look and live.
Welcome back. Glad you're still with us. Let's continue. The government has heightened the level of security in the country ahead of the Easter holiday celebrations. Police officers have been deployed in various parts across the country and specialized teams positioned in crowded areas and other vulnerable spots to provide a reassuring presence and deter any security threats during this period. Interior Cabinet Secretary Dr. Fred Matiang'i has hinted that some of the measures will come with a level of inconvenience but are necessary in the best interest of the country. He was speaking at the General Motors East Africa during the flagging off of 170 vehicles by Isuzu for use by deputy county commissioners across the country. The vehicles were acquired through the government's motor vehicle leasing program, which is part of the far-reaching security reforms aimed at enhancing the sector's operational and logistical capacity.
The county has so far experienced emerging political violence perpetuated by hired goons and, to a great extent, political aspirants themselves. We have established as a county stakeholders coordination and consultation committees that has mapped the security threats and developed mitigation measures against such threats, political violence being one of the major threats so far identified. The County Security and Intelligence Committee has resolved that perpetrators of political violence in the county will face the full force of the law, just but in the words of our Cabinet Secretary, Interior, that there will be no sacred cows in the crackdown of perpetrators of political violence. In this regard, already those who were involved in the burning of electoral materials for the ongoing party primaries have been summoned to record statements. Further, I'm warning politicians against hiring crowds and or goons from within the county and outside the county for their rallies, as such crowd end up colliding and fighting. Politicians should also adhere to the stipulated time of public gatherings that ends at 6 o'clock.
The Kenya Medical Supplies Authority, KEMSA, has confirmed that ongoing operational efficiency reforms are beginning to bear fruit. As part of the reforms, the authority has reduced its order turnaround time from 46 days in February 2021 to 16 days at the end of February 2022. The authority also managed to dispatch essential medicines and medical supplies and national strategic priority health program supplies valued at more than 9.73 billion Kenya shillings as at the end of last month to all counties. Today, the Kilifi Governor, Honorable Amason Kingi, flanked by KEMSA Sales Officer Ms. Leah Gichoya, flagged off pharmaceutical, non-pharmaceutical and laboratory equipment worth 176 million Kenya shillings to 150 health facilities in different parts of Kilifi County.
Ambazo tumezileta leo ni za gharama 176 million ambazo zitazungushwa kila mahali. Zimechanganyika, kuna non-farms, kuna pharmaceuticals, kuna x-ray, kuna laboratories.
Ni muhimu kwamba zile ambazo zimebaki, ile order ambayo imebaki wafanye kwa uharaka pia tu ifike. Maanake kuna dawa ambazo wazungu wanaita fast moving. Zile madawa ambazo zinaenda kwa kasi katika hospitali zetu. Hususan zile madawa za kukinga ama za kudhidi ya maumivu, pain killers. Zile hatuko nazo katika consignment hii, na tunajua kwamba ni dawa ambazo zinaenda sana kwa uharaka katika hospitali nyingi hapa Kilifi. Wakati pengine umefika kwamba shirika la KEMSA lifanye ugatuzi. Kwa mfano katika region ya Mombasa, ni vizuri tuwe na mabohari yao hapa katika region hii, ili wakati tunapeana order hazichukui muda, kwa sababu kila kitu kinafanyika kule Nairobi. Tunataka wakati kaunti hizi 6 zinapeana order hizi zinakuwa processed hapa katika pwani, ili kuwe na uharaka na urahisi wa kufikisha order hizi.
The Communications Authority of Kenya has connected 14 sub-locations to mobile network services in West Pokot County as it seeks to avail communication services to 101 areas across the country under the Universal Service Fund to the tune of 1.1 billion Kenya shillings. Making the announcement, CA Director General Ezra Chiloba said the 14 sub-locations were among those identified for connectivity in the second phase of the implementation of the USF, a special fund created to avail communication services in various parts of the country, especially in areas which are mostly remote and hard to reach. The authority today formally launched the second phase of the USF Voice Infrastructure Connectivity Project at Akiriamet, one of the beneficiary sub-locations in West Pokot County. The authority targets to connect 101 sub-locations across 19 constituencies by June this year, opening up hitherto unconnected areas to a new world of opportunities.
Katika sheria tumepewa uwezo wa kuhakikisha kwamba wale wananchi ambao wako katika zile marginalized areas, ambao uchumi uko chini, hali ya maisha ni hivi na vile, na sheria inatupatia uwezo wa kuweza kuset up masks. Basically in English we are saying that your focus is to serve the unserved and underserved areas. So ukiona kwamba mast kama hii imewekwa hapa, ni kuhakikisha kwamba wananchi wote ambao wanaweza kupata proper communication watahusika katika kulinda usalama wa area hii, watahusika katika hali za uchumi, watahusika kupata ile nafasi ya kuaccess other benefits such as healthcare kwa njia ya urahisi sana, kwa sababu wanaweza communicate.
We are exceedingly happy. Mobile network infrastructure imefika. Nimesikia saa ile Chiloba amesema there is still more. Kuna zingine zenye hatujalete na watu wako wanaelewa. We have gone every valley, every hill. The only county yenye iko na two peculiar blessings, mountains mingi, valleys mingi, na rivers ni West Pokot. So if you can stand with us tuendelee na hiyo, tutashukuru sana.
The whole of West Pokot now has access to 4G, has access to communication. That's a very big thing that we should also be talking about, not just registration. Because elections are part of the usage of the networks, we expect now in West Pokot all polling stations will be fully covered with 4G, not just 2G or 3G, which they've been asking for, which means the transmission can happen very easily, which means that elections can be received quite quickly and fairly. So we are happy that as government we've continued to roll out. This is using the Universal Service Fund, so that even in places where the operators feel that economically they don't want to go to those places, the Communications Authority and USF, or the Universal Service Fund, are ensuring that we are funding so that every Kenyan has access.
Saa hii subuhi amekuja network akakuja mzuri, hiyo mama anaenda kusaa hospitali akoenda kusaidia. Hata mtoto karibu kukuja kupigia daktari simu na kinguja haraka. Akuja hiyo kupepa mama aende kufunguliwa hospitali kusaa mzuri. Yuko sisi watu ya Kiriamini nasema network ni asante.
President Uhuru Kenyatta has commended the African Independent Pentecostal Church to Africa for uniting after years of division. The president also praised the leadership of the church for putting aside their differences and agreeing to work together for the progress of the church. The head of state spoke Thursday when he joined the AIPCA faithful to the church's joint holy oil consecration ceremony and prayer service. President Kenyatta also took the opportunity to remind Kenyans on the importance of peace and unity, saying there is nothing that can defeat the two virtues. Speaking during the event, AIPCA National Presiding Archbishop Muthuri led his colleagues Archbishop Dr. Njoroge and Archbishop Wangome in assuring that the church is now united and will never separate again. He thanked President Kenyatta for his support and the role he played in uniting the church.
Na washukuru viongozi wenu kwa sababu safari hiyo haikuwa safari rahisi, lakini wakaweka sifa, wakakataa kujipiga kifua, wakanyenyekea, wakafuata yale ambaye Mwenyezi Mungu alituambia, wakasameheana, wakashikana mikono. Na leo hii vita imeisha na kanisa ni moja. Nataka nishukuru pia wale wote ambao tumetembea nao na wamenisaidia. Wazee kama Archbishop Imadhiu wa Methodist, Archbishop ama Bishop Njenga wa Anglican, wanahusia na wale wengine wa ofisi yangu ambao wametembea hii safari pamoja na hawa wazee, na wote ambao kwa roho safi, hata kama hii haikuwa kanisa lao, lakini walikuwa wanahangaika wakiona watoto wa Mungu wakipigana na wakajitolea. Tunawashukuru kwa hayo yote.
Survivors and relatives of victims of the 1998 Nairobi bomb blast now want Kenya and the United States to finally compensate them. 24 years since the attack on the U.S. Embassy, the victims say the two governments forgot about them despite the ordeal they had to go through. In a meeting on Wednesday, the survivors met with legal team and partners from USA in a rally to proclaim a pathway to victory and equal justice for Africa's victims and survivors of the USA Embassy bombing on August 7, 1998 in both Kenya and Tanzania. Dolly Murigi has more.
For 24 years, the victims and survivors of the 7th August 1998 bomb blast are still seeking justice for the pain and suffering they had to go through as a result of terrorist attack. The terrorist target was the U.S. Embassy, but the full impact of the blast was felt in adjacent buildings where hundreds of Kenyans worked. Ufundi Cooperative Building was reduced to rubble, while the bell-bottomed Cooperative Bank House had all glass cladding stripped off.
It's also your day.
For Stella Mwikali, it was just a usual day in her life. Stella used to work in the Cooperative Bank along Haile Selassie Avenue, but was transferred to another branch 2 years before. On that fateful day, Stella says she had a loud big bang, which she told her colleagues that a bomb had just gone off. Her colleagues, upon standing to confirm the big bang, the impact of the blast shattered the windows, causing the glasses to rain on them. Stella could not stand easily to confirm the incident as her colleagues did, as she was physically disabled, but nevertheless hid under the table for safety.
Kitu Mungu alinisaidia nikafanya, niliingia chini ya meza haraka, so nikaumia mabega, nikaumia miguu na nikaumia hata mikono kwingine, lakini siku hizi kwenye nilifanywa operation ya haionekani. Lakini tunashukuru Mungu ni mwema kwa sababu hatukufariki. Mungu alituokoa kwa maisha kwa wakati huo, lakini yenyewe ilikuwa ni mbaya sana, manake ilisikika mulio hata kama kilomita 3 na zaidi, lakini kuingia ile chini ya meza iliniokoa maisha yangu, na ndio amuoni niko na kama nimeumia kwa uso.
Since August 7th, 1998, where over 200 people, 12 of them Americans, were killed in the Nairobi blast, another 5,000 injured, the U.S. government spent millions of money to rescue and treat injured Kenyans, bury the dead, educate the children, and revive damaged businesses and property.
But we have to continue.
The government is now facing a lawsuit by victims of the August 7, 1998 U.S. Embassy bombing, want billions of shillings in compensation. Over 5,000 victims, including the injured and relatives of those who died in the terrorist attack, are still waiting for justice.
Tumekuja tukitafuta jinsi tunaweza kuwa compensation, kwa sababu tumekaa miaka mingi, wengine unasikia nikisema tulitolewa kazi na hatuna namna ya kujitafutia mapato. Kidogo kidogo unafanya kibarua lakini haitoshi. Wengine wetu hata wameshafariki, bado tunatafuta hii tukingoja hii nini kufidiwa.
Ali Modama, survivor and the chair of the Bomb Blast Victims Association, says the legal officers from America who were present at the memorial service are still working on the compensation process in as much as it has taken 24 years.
Manake hivi sasa ni kama tuko kwenye msururu wa kuelezewa haya mambo ili vile ambavyo yamefika, na kule katika Marekani wale ambao wanasimamia mambo hayo wanakwenda kwenye baraza la Congress ili kuona kwamba Waafrika wanahitaji kulipwa compensation yao kama kawaida, kama watu wengine, kuliko kule ubaguzi uondoke kabisa, kwa sababu victim ni victim.
Some people have been compensated, others have not. The majority have not been compensated, and it is my commitment to the people of Kenya, the victims and the survivors of Kenya, that the victims, all of them, be properly compensated in relationship to their injuries and their losses.
For thousands of victims maimed, widowed, or orphaned, it has been more than 2 decades of utter agony. The tireless quest for compensation was hit a dead end, with many now calling on the government to pay attention to their plights.
I personally lost my wife, with whom we had 4 children. But then, even though that happened, we were left alive. We are going to live on, and though things continue to be hard and we remember what happened, we still will live, and we appreciate that we are alive. We appreciate that we have children who are alive, and we can only encourage one another.
Dolly Mirigi, Hope TV, Nairobi.
Now, across our borders, the death toll following floods in South Africa has soared, with at least 300 people having died after roads and hillsides were washed away and homes collapsed. The search for missing persons is still going on, and the death toll is expected to rise. One family is said to have lost 10 members in the devastating floods. Residents had to flee their homes, but road infrastructure has been severely damaged. After losing everything, some residents are trying to find shelter in the underground halls of hostels. The whole of KwaZulu-Natal province, which includes Durban, has been declared a disaster area. Climate change is being blamed for the heaviest rains in 60 years, with more rains forecast over the weekend. While visiting survivors in one of the townships in the city of Durban, President Cyril Ramaphosa called it a catastrophe of enormous proportions. Let us take another break. We will be back with business news.
The Bible is unchanging and timeless, and its words are relevant for every generation. Join Dr. David Jeremiah each week on Turning Point as he delivers the unchanging Word of God to an ever-changing world. With his sincere, straightforward teaching style, David Jeremiah provides a rich study of Scripture from which you can find spiritual strength, encouragement, and guidance for today's world. Join Dr. Jeremiah every week on Turning Point, right here on this station.
Welcome back. The refurbished City Park Market in Nairobi County was launched today by the National Development Implementation Committee in conjunction with the Ministry of Interior and Coordination of National Government and the State Department of Housing and Urban Development and other government ministries. Speaking to traders at the market, the Principal Secretary, State Department for Housing and Urban Development, Mr. Charles Hinga, said that the national government has refurbished the market following the request by the traders. There are two elements that were done. That is, the county government had already done the structures and have completed what had remained.
The structures had already been done by the county, but they've been left for years and into a state of decay. So we completed whatever was remaining, and then we put ablution blocks, because one of the indignity of working in these places here is lack of ablution facilities and lack of drainage. And as you can see, we are also providing them with parking, so that, as we said, someone who ordinarily want to go to a mall can now come here and they cannot say there is nowhere to park. We just have some few works remaining to attend to the people of who they choma nyama here, by the way, and they have kitchens and there's not enough space. So we have advertised the tender, and we are going to complete it very soon.
Destination marketer Kenya Tourism Board has today renewed its partnership with World Marathon record holder Eliud Kipchoge as the Magical Kenya ambassador. The partnership is part of the continued efforts by the board to leverage Kenya's status as a global sporting powerhouse to market the destination to the world. Eliud was first signed as Kenya's tourism ambassador in 2020, a partnership that saw the champion promote Kenya as a preferred tourism destination locally, regionally, and internationally through various campaigns.
I'm happy to sign the partnership. I'm happy to market Kenya. I'm happy to do something because it's where I was born. This is the only business we are doing, because there are only two things whereby they say there are only two things in this world whereby you cannot change. You cannot change your parents, and you cannot change the location you are born. Yeah. So you are born in Kenya, and this is our only business.
Today's partnership has changed from just marketing Kenya to the domestic market, but also bringing conservation and sustainability to the partnership with Eliud, because we want to profile our conservation areas, but also we want to profile the program that we do jointly in Kenya for conservation. We want also to take Eliud to areas where it's not normal in terms of destinations that are not the main areas like the beaches or Masai Mara. We did that the last time, but this time we want to take him to areas where it's unique in terms of conservation and the sustainability of the environment.
And in sports, Ferdinand Omanyala clocked his season's best time when he won the ASA Athletics Grand Prix 4 at the Jamison Stadium in Johannesburg, South Africa on Wednesday. In the highlight of the fourth Grand Prix meet of the season, the African record holder clocked 9 minutes 9.98 seconds to beat Simbin pretty comfortably in the end. Bradley Nkwana finished third in 10.32 seconds. This was the second time the sprinters were clashing, having first met at the 2021 Diamond League in Brussels, where Omanyala finished fourth and Simbin sixth. That's it for Newswatch tonight. Thank you so much for your valuable company. On behalf of the team, we appreciate you. Have a good night and be blessed. I am Tess Njenga, and our sign language interpreter is Boniface Mureithi.